Hi friends, I'm Olga Koelsch and welcome back to my studio. Have you heard about Inktober? It's quite a big fun challenge which happens every October on Instagram and everywhere in the designs and artists society when people are painting just in black and white, different pictures according to the entry. And I thought it would be nice to paint all together one of the entry, it's bouquet. And let's paint bouquet just in black color and study and learn about composition. I think it's very helpful when you try to improve your composition skills when you paint just with one color. So you are not focusing, not thinking about mixing colors, about some color schemes, etc. You just focus on the silhouettes, on the composition, on the details. So let's start. When we are working on the composition or working on some big project, always nice to prepare some draft, some sketch before, where we show up the most dark and the most bright places. For example, in this video, here will be dahlia. It's the brightest and lightest spot in here. And all around, everything around is a little bit darker. And the most dark parts will be underneath dahlia, so I could just show it a little bit. It's very helpful for myself, so in the process when I'm in watercolor, I would not start to paint dahlia too dark, and then I'm in a kind of trouble, because in watercolor we do not really have white color, and that's why it's important to think in layers. So one dark flower here, one dark flower here. It's also kind of dahlias, but I think would be nice for the writer to show some roses, to bring some roses in this bouquet. Some dark parts here and some very light here. And you see, even with once I put some shades around dahlia, it really pops up, and that's what we have to keep in mind. No need to go into much details. I will keep this sketch around so you could see it. And we are having fun today. We are painting just in black. You could take any black you like. It doesn't matter at all. Just any black from your palette. And as I said, it's very important for us not to overpaint our brightest and lightest flower. So I'm just mapping it out in what I'm doing now with very diluted color. I'm just mapping how I will set the flower into my paper, into my picture. In principle, I'm more painting with water than with color now, and that's fine. Try to have it relatively wet, so we could take more bold color and start to paint some things around. Let's paint something in between. As we paint not botanical portrait, but some loose style picture, don't hesitate to leave a lot of space in between the leaves and elements. On the picture you probably see that it's very high dense in this bouquet. We do not need this. So what I'm doing now, I'm taking a second brush, one for color, one for water. Usually it's helpful if your brushes have different colors, easier to distinguish them. And I paint my rose. It looks a little bit on the top, so it's not really flat. I could paint it relatively light for the beginning, because I could always add some details later on. But I remember that this rose is quite a dark spot in here, so I add dark strokes, just like this. What I love in painting with just black color, you do not overthink about colors, about mixing colors. This part is done, so you just really concentrate on the shapes and on the composition. Perfect thing to work to develop your composition skills is just to paint with black color. Of course, you could take any, for example, blue. I could see the picture would be lovely in ultramarine blue. I like neutral black. And right now I'm painting this beautiful eucalyptus branch. I'm just pressing my belly of the brush to the paper, and that's how I create these rounded leaves, rounded eucalyptus leaves. And I would like to add some volume. So with my watery brush, I kind of create another layer. I just drag out the color from the branch and create more leaves around. So I make my bouquet more fluffy, more dimensional, more interesting. What's important here, because we need our dahlia to pop up, so we very bravely go in between the petals which we mapped up and fill it in. Try, not to color just flat everything around. Remember that bouquet consists of different branches, petals, stems, so that's what you would really like to emulate here. I will show you one more trick. For example, I do not like that these leaves are of the same shade. I think it's a bit bored. So I wash my brush, I dry my brush with a paper towel, and I just blot out some parts on the leaves. That adds a really nice volume. And if I would like to paint some vines, I do the same thing with the tip of the brush. It's to do this, it's better to have a synthetic brush. They have a more strong tip, a more strong point of the brush, which help you to remove that colored layer. So let's go back to the bottom. I could see a lot of very tiny grass in here, and that's I am painting right now with the tip of the brush with very free hand moves, just like this. And I fill in these areas in between dahlia petals, because we will be back here to this area, but a little bit later. No need to cover to show all the elements, all the flowers you see on the photo, on the picture. Just some key elements. For example, I think this grass is really nice, cute, and it creates a nice contrast between round-shaped eucalyptus leaves and this tiny little grass. It's all about contrast. So let's play around. You could, although we have just one color, we have a amount of different shades, from really dark black to almost white, very diluted gray color. So try everything, try different options, play around with amount of water, and you get very nice variety. So on this side of bouquet, not so many eucalyptus, but I think for the balance it's okay to leave a branch. With the belly of the brush, with the tip of the brush, I create these round shaped, I think it's called dollar eucalyptus. Like this, and some tiny grass with just with the tip of the brush. Don't my advice not to look on the picture. You look at it once at your photograph for 3 seconds, and what you kept in mind in these 3 seconds, you paint that. What you didn't catch up in this 3 seconds, no, shouldn't be bother you. Do not forget to put more contrast in between these petals, but in some interesting, intricate way. Imagine that there is some flowers are growing, some branches, some grasses, something intersects, just like this. So there is something like dahlia already in the picture. I would like to add more of these long leaves, and here we have another rose. Actually, would be nicer to paint first rose and then the grass, but that's all right. The rose is dark, and this would be a nice spot, because here we have lighter leaves, and I really would like to paint very contrast, very dark rose here, but that doesn't mean that I have to cover everything with black. The opposite, I try to leave as much white space as possible, because with the contrast it will really pops up. And I add some softness. What I could paint in between, I think it would be all nice to add one more of these very light eucalyptus leaves around, and some grass, light grass, which goes very nicely. And I'm kind of dragging out the color of the rose to paint some greenery, some feelings around it. Some rose leaves, and then we have a very nice dimensional element here. And we go up. Here I see some, it's not daisies, it's small tiny marguerites. I would not leave them white. I will paint them with very diluted grayish color and with a lot of space between petals. If you're stuck with composition, if you do not know how to paint to get all this contrast, always nice to have a look on some botanical Instagram accounts, I mean some professional florists, because they really do great job and they know everything about contrasts. But regarding flowers, because here we could see small flowers, big flowers, light flowers, dark flowers, white petal, sharp petal. It's very helpful to pick it up from florists' designs. It would be very helpful for you. So that's how we get these lovely tiny I forgot, let's say daisies. Let's call them daisies. If you feel that could be a little bit more, yes, try more. I think one would be very nice here. So what I'm doing now, it's like I'm painting tunnels, creating tunnels where black color will go. And that's how I get this nice sharp center and petals and everything very natural. Difficult to see what's in the picture, but it feels like it would be nice to make some curve and some branch here. I could imagine another eucalyptus branch, but the sun shines from here, which means leaves on the top of bouquet are lighter than on the bottom of the bouquet. So I would like to create a little bit lighter mix of black for this final branch. It's a little bit too dark. It's again a little bit too dark. I think like this would be nice. And I paint eucalyptus leaves. In principle, I paint brush strokes. I do not go into details. I do not paint vines, etc. It's more like I'm just stamping around with my brush. And I would like a little bit reduce contrast, darkest here with damp and clean brush. I could do that. And in between these tiny little petals, it would be nice to add some contrast. Same here and same here, just with the drops. We almost were there, and could be nice to add some some volume, some grass elements. Very carefully, not to make a mess. And I think it's enough. Let's go back to dahlia. I would like to have more control, that's why I'm switching to synthetic brush. And dahlia is very light, but anyway it has contrast again. You might already painted dahlia with me. The pink dahlia, I have a tutorial where I showed how to paint all these big amount of petals and overlaps. Right now I'm painting even more loose. What I'm doing now, I divide the middle part from this open area, and I create a mess of leaves. And what I like, that sometimes I borrow the color from nearby, and sometimes it's a bit darker, and it creates a nice variety within petals. You already probably guessed it. I'm creating the same tunnels as we did for these tiny flowers, and we will play around. Now I just on the very tip of my brush, I get some bold mix of black, and carefully I go in this area and fill it in with black intense color, and I let watercolor work by itself and fill in, go into all these tunnels. Maybe I will make a small close-up. Here should be some shades, so I work very carefully here, try not to overdo. I could a little bit extend this gray, especially in the bottom of the flower, because it's in the shade, so I could extend a little bit these gray elements, but not on the top. On the top I would really prefer to keep it light. Just add in some details. With the tip of the brush, I'm creating some details, and I keep dividing the middle part from the petals, just with carefully adding some more of black color on this exact space, not everywhere. I'm pretty happy with the dahlia, with our dahlia. You could work a little bit more, but I think it's nice enough. The only area is missing is in this corner under the rose. I would not do anything complicated. I think I will just create some rose leaf here, add some shades, and add some tiny fantasy petals, grass It's a very fun technique when you create these watery tunnels, and then you just leave your watercolor do the job, and you just watch and enjoy. This looks a bit weird, yeah. Let's put some nice small leaf in here. Let me have a look. I usually like to look on the picture through the camera. That's how I could see better. One more little detail, for example here, some craving for dark color is needed. Some division between these petals. And in principle, this is it. Our bouquet is ready. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed. I'm looking forward to see your black and white pictures. Have a look on my Instagram, olga.koelsch. I have very many entries for Inktober right there. And I hope you just enjoy the process, and see you next time. Bye bye.